Alana Hunt. I'm a life coach and manifestation mentor, and I'm absolutely passionate about helping you create a life that you want. You know, we talk about the law of attraction and how many of us are manifesting in our lives those things that we don't want rather than the things that we do. So there's a whole lot more going on, and I want to help you discover some of those ways that you're manifesting in your life now, maybe manifesting the things you don't want, and how to harness your power to manifest what you truly want to experience in your life. Today, we're going to be talking about peripheral vision, about what happens when you get stuck and how you can get unstuck, and some of the ways that we can help ourselves. And we're actually going to be talking about Sherlock Holmes today. Today is based on a blog that I wrote a little while ago, so I'm just going to pop the link to that blog in the comments here. And if you'd like to go across and read it at some point, feel free to go across to my website and have a look at that for yourself. But we're going to talk about it today and use it to illustrate what happens when we get stuck and how we can get unstuck, about widening the view. You know, if we think about Sherlock Holmes, what are the pictures that we see of Sherlock Holmes, right? He's got his little hat on, maybe he's got a pipe, but what's he always got? He's always got that magnifying glass, hasn't he? And so all pictures of Sherlock Holmes are pretty much this guy with the magnifying glass looking in as the amazing detective that he is. But is he an amazing detective because he uses his magnifying glass? Or is there something else going on? Because although we see pictures of Sherlock Holmes with his magnifying glass and we think, oh gosh, you know, that's what it takes to be a detective, and it's sort of this connection that's made. In actual fact, Sherlock Holmes, when he goes into a room and he stuns people with his observations, and he is able to solve these dilemmas, solve problems, solve mysteries, and solve perhaps crimes, it's not because he takes this tiny view. It's because he absorbs all the information that most people miss. He takes the widest view possible. He takes in every single little detail, and he does it in almost what appears to be a millisecond. But it's because of the way that he chooses to see. Not because he's got his magnifying glass and he's going around looking closely, but because he stands back and he takes this really wide view of everything. He sees the little bit of mud on the shoe. He sees the tiny bit of ash on the, on the cuff, or the tiny bit of something that spilled on the tie. He sees all of that information, and it's that information combined with the things that he learns by focusing in that allows him to make a decision, to make a call, to solve a problem. And we can do the same. So that's what today's about. So I want to talk about peripheral vision for a minute. And if you have a second and you'd like to do this with me, peripheral vision, most people know what it is. But if you've never really understood it fantastically well, it's a really good exercise. So if you've got a couple of seconds, I'd love it if you do this exercise with me. You might feel a little bit like Dumbo the elephant. But here's what we're going to do. So I want you to take your hands, put your palms out like this, and then place your hands just in front of your ears here, and wiggle your fingers. Now, when you look straight ahead, so I'm looking straight down the camera at the moment, but even with my hands here, I can wiggle my fingers and I can see my fingers out the side of, my eyes, because our eyes are rounded. So we have a much wider view than we often recognize. And if you take those hands and you bring them out to the sides, you'll see them even more clearly. Then the exercise is take them back until you can't see them anymore. And what you'll discover is it's actually more than 180 degrees that you can see. And if you want to see a bit more, you just turn your head. Just turn your head and you can see so much more in each direction. But even when you're staring straight ahead, even when you're looking straight ahead, you can see a lot of information. You have access to a ton of information that we're not always aware of. It's really interesting. When I was thinking about this today, I was thinking about, how many people do you see walking around the world with their mobile phones here, and they've got their mobile phones like this, and they're just looking at the screen. They bang into you in the street. They seem to be completely unaware of other people around them. I've seen people step off the curb into the road. I've heard stories where people have actually been run over because they've been paying so little attention to what's around them, and they're so focused in on their phone. And of course, we're all told, and in fact, they've made laws about this now, to not be on our phones while we're in our car, because we focus in and we can no longer see what's happening around us. So this peripheral vision that I'm talking about is super, super important. You know this with the phone. If you're walking around and your eyes are stuck to the phone, you're going to fall over. It's the same if you imagine, Sherlock Holmes with his magnifying glass. And if he's walking around just looking through the magnifying glass, he's going to fall over. That's the truth. When we focus in on the minute, when we bring our vision and tunnel it into one particular aspect of life, or particularly when we want to solve a problem or make a decision or decide what direction to go in our lives, when we bring our tunnel vision, we can't see. All we see is what's in front of us, and without any further information, we're just on repeat. We just keep seeing the same thing. The thoughts go round and round and round. You get into this anxiety bubble where you just can't see the wood for the trees, to use an expression, and you really don't know what to do. And so many people make their decisions in that space. So many people are trying to find a solution to something, trying to heal themselves from pain, trying to get over relationship breakups, or whatever it is that they're trying to move forward in some way, because, we get stuck in tunnel vision. It's a tunnel. You're in a small space. You're kind of stuck. And unless you widen the view, unless you can see the light beyond, unless you add more information, you're going to stay in that stuck place. So when we widen our view and we take in more information, a few things happen. One, we can see a lot more, which is really useful, of course. Two, we step away from our emotions a wee bit. We can just kind of remove ourselves slightly from how we're feeling. And in doing that, we calm everything down. We can see better. We've got all this information, and we can ask a whole bunch of questions. I'm going to go through some of the questions that you can ask when you step away from this tunnel vision that we have when we're trying to solve something, or when we're in a place where we're struggling. When we're stuck, we're always trying to find that way out. We're in this loop. It's like we're in this feedback loop, and our brain's just going round and round and round. And those of you who follow me know that I talk a lot about the unconscious mind and how the power of your unconscious mind in driving your choices, your thoughts, your emotions, and ultimately in delivering your reality, or manifesting your reality, if you like. There's a whole bunch of information in your unconscious mind that you can have access to when you step away, when you widen the view, when you're in the tunnel, when you're in the little bubble, when you're looking closely, when you've got the magnifying glass out and you're stuck. The only information you have is the information that's already in your conscious brain. And that part of you will want to keep delivering results now that are based on experiences of the past. So this is why we get ourselves into this loop, right? We go round and round and round and round and round. And it's anxiety producing. We get to the point where we know we have to make some sort of decision. We have to take a step out. What's our choices? Stay stuck, or make a decision. And without stepping back and really seeing all the information around what it is, that place of stuckness that you're in, you might be making a decision in anxiety. You might make a decision in desperation. You might make a decision just because you know you have to make a decision. And sometimes these decisions are time critical, aren't they? And the longer you stay in that stuck place, the more likely it is that you're going to make a decision based in emotion or in anxiety, or make a decision that will deliver the same result that you've had in the past, because that's all the information that you have available to you. So you can see how important this widening the view is. So I want to give you 5 ways, I think it's 5 ways, 1, 2, 3, looks like 4, 5 ways to help you widen your view, ways that you can do that will help you gather more information. So the first way is to acknowledge your emotions. So although we want to be stepping back, this is a kind of a two-way process, right? So we're looking at things, but we're also standing away. So by taking the wider view, we're able to ask the questions. And then we want to look and focus on the answers and then step back. So it's kind of this inward, outward thing that we're doing. And that's what Sherlock Holmes does, right? He's in this room, there's all this information. Something catches his eye. So something on someone's tie, for example, catches his eye, and then he focuses in. He uses his magnifying glass and he zooms in to translate that piece of information, and he zooms back out, and he's doing this automatically. And when we practice this, we can kind of do like a zoom on a camera. Yeah, we're going in and out, and we can get the wide view that gives us context, and then we can also focus in on the detail. So that's what we want to be doing. So the first way is to acknowledge your emotions, right? So step away from them, but recognize how you're feeling. It's not about stepping into the emotions and feeling them. It's not really about putting labels on it, but it's about sort of just stepping back that little bit that allows you to see what's going on. How are you feeling? If you're feeling anxious, absolutely step away. If you're feeling uncertain, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're, what's going on? How are you feeling in your body? What's in your thoughts? What's in your emotions? Acknowledge that. Acknowledge your emotions, because your emotions are going to drive your choices and your behaviors. So it's really important to understand the state that you're in right now. The next thing is to give yourself some space. And this is true for anxiety as well. Give yourself some space. Just step away from what's happening right now. That focusing in is just going to bring more of that anxiety, more of that uncertainty, more of whatever emotion you're experiencing. So just step back and give yourself a little bit of space. The third thing is to add gratitude to the mix. So, it can be, when you're feeling stuck, it can be very difficult to kind of see beyond what you're in right now. And sometimes those places that we're stuck in, or a lot of the time those places we're stuck in, feel quite painful. They can be difficult. We can be confused and all of that. And it can be very difficult to see the positives. So when you add gratitude to the mix, when you look at where you are and you show gratitude for where you are right now, you shift the focus. Again, you're pulling back, you're stepping away, and you're going, what's amazing about this situation? What do I have to be grateful for? What has happened in the past that is wonderful? What possible experiences are waiting for me? What do I have to be grateful for in this moment right now? And you're shifting your energy. So you're stepping away to get the wider view, and then you're focusing on what those things are. So you're adding new information to the mix. Slot this experience into the timeline of your life. And this is a really important one. When we're in the stuckness, it just feels insurmountable. It just feels like it's the biggest thing ever. And the more we focus in, the more we take that tunnel vision, the bigger it gets. And it takes on this enormous importance. And I'm not suggesting that it isn't important. And of course, we all have different values, and different experiences can be really life-changing. But when we slot it into the experience, into the timeline of our life, we recognize it's just one decision. It's just one thing we're doing right now. It's not the be all and end all. If you make a decision and it doesn't turn out the way you hope, just make another one. Live with conscious awareness, so that as you're making your decisions, as you're thinking about something, as you're adding all this external wider view, keep the wider view, keep the zoom lens going. And then if something doesn't feel good, or it doesn't feel like it's going in the direction that feels true for you or right for you, just make another decision. Just take the pressure off, It's not as big as what it appears when you focus in with that magnifying glass. It's so important. And then focus on your options. So again, we're taking the wider view, and then we're focusing in, and then we're stepping away for more information, and then we're focusing in again. So when you focus on your options, there's 5 questions you can ask yourself. What are my options? Obviously, that's the first one. What are the possibilities? And so sometimes when we're looking at possibilities, we can't see very much, can we? Because we're in this little tiny space and there's not much information available. When we step away, we can kind of look. We can use that peripheral vision. We don't even need to turn our heads sometimes. We can put our hands out, push them back as far as we can, and have a good look at that, at least 180, maybe 200 degrees that's in front of you, even when you're looking straight ahead. And then just turn your head a fraction, and maybe turn your head a fraction in the other direction. See what else you can see. Because there's a lot of information there. There's a lot of possibility. And when we're stuck, And when we're focusing in on the minutiae, on the detail, we lose the perspective. We lose the ability to see those other possibilities. So what can I do? So yeah, what are my options? But what can I do? So there's possibilities. That's all the options. What can I do? What actions can I take here? What might I be able to do to help put some light on this decision I'm making, or on, what can I do to actually step away? What are the questions to ask? So that's the next part of it. What would make a difference? So if I'm stuck in this space, what might make a difference to how I feel? Add these new perspectives. Go looking for them. What would make a difference? How will I feel if? So think about the options, think about the possibilities, think about what you can do, think about the things that would make a difference, and then ask yourself, how would I feel if I made this choice, or if I added this perspective, or if I did this? Because that tells you a lot about what's right for you when you just focus on how you might feel when you make a particular decision or choose a particular direction, or just the idea of it will give you some information. Yes, you may feel anxiety because you may have to step outside your comfort zone. So that's to be expected. You may just feel this sense of uncertainty, and that's okay. That's just your emotions. It's just a signal to say, hey, you're doing something different here. That's totally fine. But have a little look beyond any anxiety and sort of say, does it make, somewhere under the anxiety, does it make your heart sing just a little bit? Is there just a little glimmer of hope? Is there just a little bit of joy? Is there just a little bit of excitement? Have a look at what that might feel like. And then, how will this decision take me where I want to go? And it's not just about going, oh, this is what I want in my life. That's part of it. But we want to feel a certain way. How will this take me where I want to go? And when I say this, how would this decision, or how would this choice, or how would this direction take me where I want to go? When you step away and you ask these questions, you get so much more information. And the more information you have, the more informed you are. When you do this correctly, when you do this and you push it out to the boundaries, what happens is that you end up with a whole bunch of information, most of which you can chuck out. And it might feel like it's a waste of time to do this, but when you've explored all the possibilities and you've absorbed all the information that surrounds something, the answer is just like there. You don't have to think about it anymore. It just sort of automatically falls into place. And ever since I've been using this process, and I use it for decisions, I use it for, just as I'm moving through my life, little things, big things, in my relationships with people, and I'm using my Zoom lens all the time. And what happens is that the more you practice this, the less you have to think about the decisions, the more connected you are to that part of you that just knows the answers. Yeah. Yes, you're asking the questions. And to start with, it's kind of a deliberate process. But after a little while, it becomes automatic. And so what peripheral vision does is it brings knowledge, it brings balance, it brings perspective, and it brings clarity. It takes away the doubt. It takes away the uncertainty. It all just disappears. And what you're left with is the sense of certainty, of knowing, of peace, of lightness. And so then when you move yourself forward, when you make your decision, when you think about who you want to be, how you want to act, how you want to respond, you can even use it in those moments when I talk about the power of the pause, where you just want to take a second to focus on what's in front of you and choose how you want to respond to the information or to the person that's in front of you. You can use this little zoom lens, and you can do it in just a few seconds. You absorb all the information that's there. What's this person's energy doing? What's the expression on their face? What else might be going on? Are they busy at the moment? Are they under stress? Is there something else going on? You can absorb all of this information and then make a decision to respond in a particular way. And that's how quickly you can use this process when you get used to it. So then you have that clarity, you have that certainty, all the anxiety drops away. You take that wide view, and the wide view gives you the information. It informs your decision. It gives you the ability to then come in, to narrow down and make one decision, knowing full well that, you know what, if in a little while that decision doesn't feel right, you just make another one, and you keep using this process, and you use it all the time. You don't just bring it out now and again. If you bring it in to part of how you operate, how you go about being in the world, then you're constantly shifting. You're constantly shifting as things flow, and you're in the flow, the ebb and flow, and life isn't so difficult. We don't keep hitting those walls. We don't keep getting stuck because we're just following. You could say you're following your intuition, but what you're doing is you're taking this wider view. You're adding all the information. You're taking a wide perspective. And so you're constantly shifting and moving based on all the information, not just tiny little bits of it. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, is just bring Sherlock Holmes's wider view, the zoom lens, if you like, to your life. Those times where you feel upset, those times where you feel like you have a decision to make, those times where you feel stuck, bring the zoom lens, pull yourself away, take that wider view, grab some more information and add it to the mix, and then have another look. Step back, step in, and do the zoom lens process, because then anxiety goes, you have certainty, you feel comfortable with your decisions, and you're able to access that part of you that absolutely knows what's right for you without having to try and scramble in your brain and make decisions based on the past, because you don't want to necessarily be creating in the future or in the present what you created in the past. Very important step, very important tool in your journey to manifest more of what you want and less of what you don't want.